Hey guys, so I'm coming back to you guys to talk about a topic that I know it's going to seem like a little different than what I usually talk about, but it's one that it's an issue that we definitely need to be aware of. Before I get into that though, I do want to thank everybody for viewing my videos, for the encouraging comments that I get, and for all of the support that I get. It's very hard when you're trying to provoke change. Everyone's not going to agree with it. And I know change is hard for everyone to accomplish. So a lot of people are not going to agree with what I say and they'll take offense to it. And as we all know, a lot of people can be very, very nasty, especially if, they can hide behind a computer screen. So above all, and despite all of the negativity that I do get, I do want to thank everyone for still subscribing and sharing the positive comments and giving the encouragement that they do give. It's definitely very much appreciated, and it does help me, to get on here and do what I do, because it's not easy. At the end of the day, I am putting myself out there for criticism, and I'm putting myself out there for ridicule, and I'm doing it not really because I want the attention, but because when I look at everything that's going on, it's disgusting to me. I feel like I have an obligation to um, take what I know and share it with other people, to kind of help to take away the smoke screen that the media presents to people. So I do really want to thank everyone for the support that they give and the positive comments and the encouragement that they give. So with that out of the way, um, I talked about the pathology behind racism, and there's a lot of it, and I think we all know and we all agree that racism takes various forms. Um, One of those in particular that I think people need to be aware of is the institutionalized racism in the workforce. And this is a big problem. And the thing of it is I think we tend to focus mostly on when we watch TV and we see, black people, unarmed black men being shot specifically. I think we only look at that one-dimensional part of it. Yes, we know that there's, a lack of jobs for black people, and I think we know that black people are impoverished more than anyone else, but I think we don't pay enough attention to the institutions that perpetuate that. And so the reason I want to bring, this aspect of it to your awareness is because it is very detrimental. Institutional racism is alive and well. Just because we can get jobs, that really doesn't mean anything. While there's a law that says you have to employ black people, there's also laws in place that says you can fire them for any reason that you want to, or no reason at all. And yes, it says this law doesn't just pertain to black people, it pertains to everyone else. But black people suffer the most because of this law. And the law is really called at-will employment. And the funny thing is although everyone, for the most part, because every state has this law except Montana. Montana is the only state that does not go by at-will employment. And it's interesting to me because even people that I work with are not aware of this law, although they have to sign documentation to be hired saying that they are aware of this law. And it's really interesting because I actually mentioned it to people at various jobs, and they never know what the law is. People are under the impression, for the most part, that if your employer terminates you, that somehow you can go pursue wrongful termination charges against that employer, and that's simply not true unless you live in Montana, because again, Montana is the only state in America that does not have at-will employment laws. But basically what this law says is that your employer can terminate you, change your benefits, cut your hours, or even scale down on your paid time off for any reason. They don't have to tell you why. They can do it without warning. They can fire you for any reason or no reason at all. That's basically what the law states. So even though, we have these laws that says you have to employ black people and you're not able to discriminate, that's backed by the fact that there's a law that says you really don't have to have a reason. So they're telling you that you don't have to have a reason to fire them under one breath. Then under the next breath, they're telling you you can fire them for any reason except for discriminatory reasons. So, but here's the thing, that the law in general is just really oxymoronish, because it's like, how are you in one breath going to tell them they don't have to have a reason to fire you and then say you can't fire for discriminatory reasons? Well, I'm pretty sure it's common sense to everyone. If you really wanted to discriminate, well, you don't have to have a reason at all. So wouldn't you just not say anything and not provide a reason, and then you would just terminate people? And that is why at this current point in time, Black unemployment has been and still is over double the amount of white unemployment. And no one can convince me that this law is not why that's occurring. Because if you put into law that you have to hire Black people, but then you also have a law that says you can fire them for any reason, as long as you don't say that it's because they're race, because you really don't have to tell them why you're doing it, then this is basically an open door and a hall pass for discrimination, racial discrimination, and you can best believe that it is happening. So what I'm going through at work right now, and what I have been going through with 3 different consecutive jobs that I have, is blatant, outright discrimination. But because of this law, it makes it so hard for you to actually prove it. However, there are some ways that you can do it. You just have to know how to do it. And what is going on with me at my place of employment, because I do work for a big corporation and I have in other positions as well, I recently had 3 white managers decided to collaborate together to literally write up lies about me in order to put me in a position, in a corrective action position, which would make it so that I couldn't receive incentives and bonuses. Right now, I am and I have been since I've been with the company, the top performers on my team. Because a lot of people who have worked for big corporations, and what they'll do is they'll divide you into teams because it's simply too many people. So I have always been a top performer on my team, and this has been consistent through any position that I have. Ego aside, when I take a position, I become very good at what I do, especially if it's in the social services field. So I always perform in terms of productivity and quality, either above my entire team, or I'm really one of 3 of the top performers on the team. So one day I actually had a supervisor, and I don't like to really share a lot of my personal experiences, but I think I need to share this one because a lot of people are probably going through the same thing. So one day I had a supervisor, and my company is predominantly run and managed by overweight white women. This is one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand, especially when Black men decide to attack the whole weave idea. When companies are managed by white women and they are doing all the hiring and firing, it doesn't matter if you want to or not, what reason you're doing it for. In a lot of ways, you don't have a choice but to conform to that standard and that ideology, because white women are very, very, very intimidated by Black women. And the more that she tends to represent pride in her Blackness, the least likely she is to be hired. That's not why I choose to wear a weave, but I do notice that it is one of the things that I do notice when I work for these companies, is that white women don't really take well to me. And so when they are in positions of power, they are going to exert that power because they need to feel that power in order to satiate their low self-esteem. So they have to do something to accommodate that. I actually was hired through my company through a temporary agency. So that in part probably had a lot to do with why I was hired for this position in general. But back to my story of what was going on. So one day I had my supervisor approach me, and she wanted to change my position to a position that would not allow me to continue to receive bonuses and incentives. And with this position is predominantly occupied by minorities in the company. I think there's maybe one white person that's also in this position, and that white person also said that they don't receive incentive. But you have to realize, in order to conceal racism, white people have to have a token white person in a situation that they're putting a black person in, so that they can say, well, we're not really discriminating because, you know, there's this one token white person in that situation. However, when you have the majority of people in that situation is minorities, then you are discriminating. So what I did is that I contested it. I said I didn't want to do that. I said I didn't want to do it, and I told my supervisor, who is white, she's a white woman, I told her that I didn't want to do that because it wouldn't really allow me to make the incentives and bonuses. So what she said was that she was going to go check in and look into this and find out for me. After I didn't hear back from her for a week, and to me that's a very generous amount of time to allow for me to allow to elapse before I check in with her. After a week, I didn't hear anything else from her about this incentive. So what I did is I sent an email to her, my supervisor, as well as my supervisor's boss, and I discussed the fact that I really didn't want this position. I noticed that minorities were only in this position, and not only that, but it didn't allow me the fair opportunity to earn incentives. So I told my supervisor that I was going to decline being put in this position, and I wanted to keep the one that I had. Well, my supervisor approached me that same day. She stated that she would go and look into, you know, changing the incentive structure so that I would be able to make it in whatever position that I was in. And I kid you not, that's the last thing I heard from her. I went to vacation. The day that I came back from vacation, 2 hours after my position started, my supervisor approaches me, and then she brings up all these. Suddenly, I have a huge attendance problem, unbeknownst to me. Clearly, unbeknownst to me, suddenly I have a very problematic attendance issue, and now, you know, they're talking to me about putting me on a performance improvement plan, and, you know, now we need to have a conversation with HR, because apparently, unbeknownst to me as well, multiple managers have spoken to me about my attendance issues. So you guys have to kind of understand what they will do once you start complaining. So from here, immediately at this point, I already know what's going on. So my thing is I'm going to nip it in the bud as soon as possible. So what I do is, and this is something that everyone should start doing, the minute you feel like something shady is happening, document everything. Send out. What you will need to do is write a letter. If you feel like this is occurring because of racist actions, write a letter and send it to literally every upper management in the company, because that is what I did. So what happened was, and I'm still literally going through this situation today, you know, even today I have to go back to work, and it just annoys me, because it's like I go to work and I know that there are white people here that have contempt for me. But what I did is I documented everything. I sent out, you know, letters. I met with HR, who also is a obese, overweight white woman. And when I get into the meeting with HR and my supervisor, then they bring me a long list of things that I supposedly did, including fabricating my time and lying about it. We have to log into a system. So what they were basically saying is that in addition to me being excessively late and tardy, I'm also fabricating time and stealing company money, which if I'm lying about the times that I log in, then basically they're calling me a thief and a liar, because I'm getting paid based off my time in to the computer. So I'm being told that I'm fabricating all this. You know, we get into this big discussion where I tell them they're clearly discriminating racially. You know, the representative from HR, she's getting pissed off. We end the conversation after I tell her she's going against policy. So she throws the performance improvement plan on the table, and then she tells me she's giving it to me anyway. So after that, I wrote multiple letters documenting the discrimination. I brought up the fact that I know there are several white employees who aren't going through these. They're breaking policies to retaliate and sabotage me. And now I'm in the situation that I'm in right now, where they have to do this big investigation on whether or not it's racial discrimination. So the reason I am telling you guys to do this, because this is very, very stressful. And when I feel in my core that they are doing this specifically because they don't like a black woman questioning a white person's authority. That is why this is happening. And the funny thing is, everyone I've spoken to dismissed it as non-racial discrimination, although no one has done an investigation. They haven't. But I'm having to deal with the fact that I will not stop pursuing this until they hold those 3 white women accountable for the lies that they told about me, because it's definitely 100% racism. And they're trying to tell me that it's not. And then when I tell them to go find out what it was, then if they think that it wasn't racial discrimination, then literally, I promise you, every upper management in that company that I've spoken to has encouraged me to quit. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to ask me to quit because at this point they can't fire me. And they already know they can't. Because if they fire me at this point, because what the law does says is that they cannot fire you after you submit a complaint of racial discrimination. We really need to start calling people out. We need to start calling white people out about this stuff that they do. Because when we don't speak out on it, and when we don't fight it, we're enabling them to continue to do it to someone else. And that's what I told them specifically in this meeting. The reason you need to correct their behavior is because I don't want this happening to anyone else. So to me, I'm not going to fight just for me. I'm not going to fight this company just for me. I'm going to fight this company for all the other black people that are put in positions where they can't earn incentives. And the reason that this is so emotional and it really pisses me off is because we don't have enough black people fighting. And I understand that fighting is hard. And I understand that, trust me, it is very stressful. I am going through it now consistently every day to the point that I have very high anxiety. So I understand that to fight it is hard and to fight it is stressful, but you have to fight it. Because if we don't see these things and we don't fight them, all we're doing is giving white people more power to continue to put us in positions where we aren't, where we're below them. Because I honestly do believe that they really believe that we don't deserve equal rights to them. I don't care how many white people say, oh, everyone is equal, I don't see color. Yeah, they do. And you know why they do? Because it is impossible for a person to be told all of their life and shown all of their lives that they are better than someone else, and they're not going to think that they're better. At this point, it's wired into their neurons that they are better than us and that they deserve better treatment. You put a white person and a black person in the same situation and actually treat them equally, I can guarantee you that white person is going to flip out, because subconsciously that white person feels like they should not be treated the same as a black person. And then I know that this is the attitude at my job. I know that it's the attitude because they act accordingly. They act like it's the attitude. They think because although they removed the performance improvement plan, they put me back on the same position that I was on. They really feel like at this point, and they keep asking me, why are you still pursuing this? We already reversed everything. That's not the point. I'm not going to let it go because you reversed everything. What I'm telling them is you need to address these white people's actions, and that is what they don't like. That's why they keep asking me and suggesting that I quit, because I'm going to make them hold these white women accountable for what they've done. It is not okay what they do to black people, and the more we start holding them accountable, the more we start calling them out on what they're doing, the more we start fighting their racism, then it will start declining. In an article that I'm reading, it is ridiculous, but this article says that the unemployment rate for black people have consistently doubled that among white people for the past 6 decades. That is a problem. If this is the case for the past 6 decades and no one is doing anything about it, that's a problem. And the reason that it's been this way for the past 6 decades is because the law supports it. And they rely, and when I say they, I say white supremacists and white people who uphold the system of inequality and injustice against black people. So the reason why they support this is because they cannot maintain white supremacy without doing everything they can to put you in the position to where you're under them. And my thing is they're not better than us. And what they don't like is a black person who knows and who asserts themselves and make it known that I don't feel like I am less than you. That's why they do the advertisement that they do on the TV. That's why they're going to make Egyptian gods and kings. That's why they're going to cast them as white people, because they cannot uphold the myth that white people are better than black people if they're casting black people as historical gods and kings. You guys have to be paying attention to the imagery and the message that they send you. Just like I said in one of my last videos, in order for white supremacy to prevail, black people have to feel like they are less than white people. And that's why they set up this system designed to put you in your place as a black person, and they according to them, your place is beneath them. So that's why they have to set up these laws, and we have to start fighting these laws. It is hard. It is stressful, but the only way that you are going to show them that you are not below them, that you are equal to them, and you need to be treated equally to them is if you're in a situation where they're trying to show you that you're beneath them, fight that. Because my thing is I don't care how much of their behaviors you reverse. I just had these 3 white women collaborate against me, lie on me, call me a thief and a liar, and that's not okay. And I'm not going to stand for it. And you guys shouldn't either. And so the reason I'm telling you this, because I really want you guys to start fighting it. Document everything. As much as you can get in writing, get it in writing. If they tell you that you did something, make them prove it to you. Because the things that I'm going through, they're telling me that I did stuff and they have absolutely no proof of it. And so the more they have to defend themselves, the better they're going to set aside your case for you. So start fighting it. Don't continue to let them put you in positions and subjugate you, because that's the only thing that they're doing. They're exerting their white privilege. They're exerting white supremacy when they do these things to us. And my thing is that I'm not going to take it, and you guys don't need to take it. It's like I can't take it, and I'm not going to. And so my thing of it is that I'm going to fight it all the way. And that is what I told them, and then they had the audacity to pull out I'm going to find the one black person this high up on this chain. I'm going to get this black person to say to you what I've been trying to say to you that you won't accept. And that's not going to happen, because you know what? I'm going to shut that down too. And what I did is that black executive, he got on the phone talking one story. I guarantee you I shut that down, and by the end of that conversation he was singing another tune. Because you're not going to pull out and try to use a black person against me. What they'll do is they'll get another black person and they'll try to pit you against each other. Or they'll think that, maybe she's not hearing what I want her to hear, so maybe she'll hear it differently from a black person, although I'm going to have that black person say the same thing. No, the bottom line is hold them accountable for their actions. White people are out here openly discriminating in the workforce, and they will continue to do so until we as black people fight back and fight against it. I have a couple articles that I'm going to put in the link in the description box that I really want you guys to read, because this is going to give you a clear idea of what's going on. And like I said, if you suspect anything, even the smallest thing, I don't care how small it is, because once you show in your position of employment that you don't feel like you're beneath them, you can best believe it's only a matter of time before you're out of there. So the first time you see something that doesn't add up, start documenting everything. Call them out on it. Tell them that you feel like they're doing it because of your race. If you truly feel like they're doing it because of your race, and the chances are, if you think that they're doing it because of your race, they probably are. So document everything, make them prove everything to you. Keep every single email that you have, forward it to a personal email. Any correspondence that you send to them, keep it. Because the thing of it is you have to keep this information so that you can hold them accountable for it. Again, if we don't start fighting this stuff, if we don't start actively fighting the racism, then we are being complicit and we are condoning it, and we are showing them by actions that we don't deserve the same treatment as them. And that's simply not true. They're not better than us. They think that they are, and we need to show them that they're not. But the only way we can do that is if we're all on the same page, if we're all fighting against this together. And so I already know every black person doesn't live in Montana. If you guys did, then we wouldn't have to deal with this. But currently, Montana is the only state that doesn't have at-will employment laws. So now for Montana, I'm pretty sure their black unemployment level is probably a lot lower than any state in America. And you guys do the research on that if you think that that's not the case. But just based off the fact that they don't have that law, I can almost guarantee the black unemployment rate is probably not as high as it is in every other state. But Montana probably has a very low population of black people in general. So you have to think about that too. But again, I'll put the links in the description. That was my rant on the frustration that I'm experiencing with this discrimination at work. Just remember, if you're going through this, stick it out. You will get through it. Just document everything. Don't let them show you and force you into a position that puts you below them. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.